Welcome back to Alston Stories Online Book Club. Today we'll be doing chapter 3 of The Hunger Games, where Katniss is given 1 hour to say goodbye to her loved ones, and this is before traveling to the capital for the games. If you haven't gotten the book yet, what are you waiting on? It's around $6 anywhere you want to look for it, and if you want it for free, I believe you could sign up for Audiobook on a trial period and you'll get the book for free. Getting your own copy, it gives you the opportunity to read ahead and have a meaningful share in the discussion when we go for break. So I'm going to be reading from my ebook copy, which I will share on the screen, and let's get started. The moment the anthem ends, we are taken into custody. I don't mean we're handcuffed or anything, but a group of peacekeepers marches through the front door of the Justice Building. Maybe tributes have tried to escape in the past. I've never seen that happen though. Once inside, I'm conducted to a room and left alone. It's the richest place I've ever been in, with thick, deep carpets and a velvet couch and chairs. I know velvet because my mother has a dress with a color made of the stuff. When I sit on the couch, I can't help running my fingers over the fabric repeatedly. It helps calm me as I try to prepare for the next hour, the time allotted for the tributes to say goodbye to their loved ones. I cannot afford to get upset, to leave this room with puffy eyes and a red nose. Crying is not an option. There will be more cameras at the train station. My sister and mother come first. I reach out to Prim and she climbs onto my lap. Her arms around my neck, head on my shoulder, like she did when she was a toddler. My mother sits beside me and wraps her arms around us. For a few minutes, we say nothing. Then I start telling them all the things they must remember to do, now that I will not be there to do them for them. Promise to take no tesserae. They can get by, if they're careful, on selling Prim's goat milk and cheese, and the small apothecary business my mother now runs for the people of the sea. Gail will get her the herbs she doesn't grow herself, but she must be very careful to describe them because he's not as familiar with them as I am. He'll also bring them game. He and I made a pact about this a year or so ago, and will probably not ask for compensation, but they should thank him with some kind of trade, like milk or medicine. I don't bother suggesting Prim to hunt. I tried to teach her a couple of times, but it was disastrous. The woods terrified her, and whenever I shot something, she'd get teary and talk about how we might be able to heal it if we got it home soon enough. But she makes out well with her goats, so I concentrate on that. When I am done with the instructions about fuel and trading and staying in school, I turn to my mother and grip her arm hard. Listen to me. Are you listening to me? She nods, alarmed by my intensity. She must know what's coming. You can't leave again, I say. My mother's eyes find the floor. I know, I won't. I couldn't help but... Well, you have to help it this time. You can't clock out and leave Prim on her own. There's no more me now to help you both out, to keep you both alive. It doesn't matter what happens. Whatever you see on the screen, you have to promise me you will fight through it. My voice has risen to a shout. In it is all the anger, all the fear I felt at her abandonment. She pulls her arm from my grasp, moved to anger herself now. I was ill. I could have treated myself if I had the medicine I have now. That part of her being ill might be true. I've seen her bring back people suffering from immobilizing sadness since Perhaps it's a sickness, but it's one we can't afford. Then take it and take care of her, I say. It'll be alright, Katniss, says Prim, clasping my face in her hands. But you have to take care too. You're so fast and brave. Maybe you can win. I can't win. Prim must know that in her heart. The competition will be far beyond my abilities. Kids with wealthier districts where winning is a huge honor, who've been trained their whole lives for this. Boys who are 2 or 3 times my size, girls who know 20 different ways to kill you with a knife. Well, there will be people like me too. People to weed out before the real fun begins. Maybe, I say, because I can hardly tell my mother to carry on if I've already given up myself. Besides, it isn't in my nature to go down without a fight, even when things seem insurmountable. Then we'd be rich as a rich. I don't care for which. I just want you to come home. You will try, won't you? Really, really try? Asks Prim. Really, really try, I swear it. I say, and I know because of Prim, I'll have to. And then the peacekeeper is at the door, signaling our time is up. And we're all hugging one another so hard it hurts, and I'm saying, I love you both, and they're saying it back, and then the peacekeepers orders them out of the door and closes it. I bury my head in one of my velvet pillows, as if this can block the whole thing out. Someone else enters the room, and when I look up, I'm surprised to see it's the baker, Peter Malak's father. I can't believe he's come to visit me. After all, I'll be trying to kill his son soon, but we do know each other a bit, and he knows Prim even better. When she sells her goat cheese at the hub, she puts 2 of them aside for him, and he gives her a generous amount of bread in return. We always wait to trade with him when his witch of a wife isn't around, because he's so much nicer. I feel certain he would never have hit his son the way she did over the burnt bread. But why has he come to see me? The baker sits awkwardly on the edge of one of the plush chairs. He's a big, broad-shouldered man with burn scars from years at the ovens. He must have just said goodbye to his son. He pulls a white paper package from his pocket and holds it out to me. I open it and find cookies. They are a luxury we could never afford. Thank you, I say. The baker's not a very talkative man in the best of times, and today he has no words at all. I had some of your bread this morning. My friend Gail gave me a scroll for it. He nods, as if remembering the scroll. Not your best trade, I see. He shrugs as if it couldn't possibly matter. Then I can't think of anything else, so we sit in silence until the peacemaker summons him. He rises and coughs to clear his throat. I'll keep an eye on the little girl, make sure she is eating. I feel some of the pressure in my chest lighten at his words. People deal with me, but they are genuinely fond of Prim. Maybe there'll be enough fondness to keep her alive. My next guess is also unexpected. Marge walks straight up to me. She's not weepy or evasive. Instead, there's an agency about her tone that surprises me. They let you wear one thing from your district in the arena. One thing to remind you of home. Will you wear this? She holds out the circular gold pin that was on her dress earlier. I hadn't paid much attention to it before, but now I see it. It's a small bird in flight. Your pen, I say, wearing a token from my district, is about the last thing on my mind. Here, I'll put it on your dress, alright? Marge doesn't wait for an answer. She just leans in and fixes the bow to my dress. Promise you'll wear it into the arena, Katniss, promise. Yes, I say. Cookies, a pin. I'm getting all kinds of gifts today. Marge gives me one more. A kiss on the cheek. Then she's gone and I'm left thinking that maybe Marge really has been my friend all along. Finally, Gale is here and maybe there's nothing romantic between us, but when he opens his arms, I don't hesitate to go into them. His body is familiar to me, the way it moves, the smell of wood smoke, even the sound of his heart beating. I know from quiet moments on a hunt, but this is the first time I've really felt it. Lead and hard muscle against my own. Listen, he says, getting a knife should be pretty easy, but you've got to get your hands on a bow. Okay, so let's pause here. How do you guys feel about the baker? I just feel like he's such an interesting character. They only mention him a few times, but I already really like him. In that one meeting that he had with Katniss, we learned so much about him. We learned that he's kind, that he's a hard worker, he's self-contained, and I just think that the baker is so much like his son Peter, and so unlike his wife. If it is you remember when we went through the chapter before, she had her own interaction with Katniss, and she showed herself to be cruel, selfish, and vengeful. Even worse when Peter mentions her later on in the book, right? So we've asked this before, because it's a question I think everybody has on their mind, right? How did Peter manage to be such a decent person, living in a home with somebody like his mother, who, for all intents and purposes, has a really negative attitude and could be abusive, right? And I feel like we got the answer here, and that the answer is possibly because he had a decent daughter. So later on, when we find out about how Peter felt about Katniss, it wasn't really surprising that they had the same taste in women, and they fell for the same kind of woman when they were around the same age, because they're so much alike, right, in temperament and attitude, and it's so cute, and it felt like it was so inevitable. And I have to say, I really enjoyed reading about the baker, right? Let me know if you agree with what I'm saying in the comments, but let's get back to the chapter, yeah? That's your best chance. They don't always have bows, I say, thinking of the year there were only horrible spiked maces that the tributes had to bludgeon one another to death with. Then make one. Even a weak bow is better than no bow at all. I have tried copying my father's bows with poor results. It's not that easy. Even he had to scrap his own work sometimes. I don't even know if there'll be wood. I say. Another year, they tossed everybody into a landscape of nothing but boulders and sand and scruffy bushes. I particularly hated that year. Many contestants were bitten by venomous snakes or went insane from thirst. There's almost always wood, Gale says. Since the year half of them died of the cold, not much entertainment in that. It's true. We spent one Hunger Games watching the players freeze to death at night. You could hardly see them because they were just huddled in balls and had no wood for fires or torches or anything. It was considered very anticlimactic in the capital. All those quiet, bloodless deaths. Since then, there's usually been wood to make fires. Yes, there's usually some, I see. Katniss, it's just hunting. You're the best hunter I know, says Gale. It is not just hunting. They're armed. They think, I say. So do you. And you've had more practice. Real practice. You know how to kill. Not people. I say, how different can it be, really? Says Gail grimly. The awful thing is that I can't forget their people. If I could, it would be no difference at all. The peacekeepers are back soon, and Gail asked me for more time. But they're taking him away, and I start to panic. Don't let them stop. I cry out, clinging to his hand. I won't, Katniss. Remember that, he says, and they yank us apart and slam the door, and I'll never know what it was that he wanted me to remember. It's a short ride from the Justice Building to the train station. I've never been in a car before, rarely even ridden in wagons. In the scene we travel on foot. I've been right not to cry. The station is swarming with reporters with their insect-like cameras trained directly on my face. But I've had a lot of practice at wiping my face clean of emotion, and I do this now. I catch a glimpse of myself on the television screen on the wall that's airing my arrival, and feel gratified that I appear almost bored. Peter Malak, on the other hand, has obviously been crying, and interestingly enough, doesn't seem to be trying to cover it up. I immediately wonder if this would be his strategy in the games, to appear weak and frightened, to reassure the other tributes that he's no competition at all, and then come out fighting. This worked very well for a girl, Joanna Mason, from District 7 a few years back. She seemed like such a sniveling, cowardly fool that no one bothered about her until there were only a handful of contestants left. It turned out she could kill viciously. Pretty clever, the way she played it. But this seems an odd strategy for Peter Malak because he's a baker's son. All those years of having enough to eat and holding bread trays around have made him broad-shouldered and strong. It will take an awful lot of weeping to convince anyone to overlook him. We have to stand for a few minutes in the doorway of the train while the cameras gobble at our images. Then we are allowed inside and the doors close mercifully behind us. The train begins to move at once. The speed initially takes my breath away. Of course, I've never been on a train, as travel between the districts is forbidden, except for officially sanctioned duties. For us, that's mainly transporting coal, but this is no ordinary coal train. It's one of the high-speed capital models that average 250 miles per hour. Our journey to the capital will take less than a day. In school, they tell us the capital was built in a place once called the Rooks. District 12 was in a region known as Appalachia. Even hundreds of years ago, they mined coal here, which is why our miners have to dig so deep. Somehow, it all comes back to coal at school. Besides basic reading and math, most of our instruction is coal-related, except for the weekly lecture on the history of Panam. It's mostly a lot of blather about what we owe the capital. I know there must be more than they're telling us, an actual account of what happened during the rebellion, but I don't spend much time thinking about it. Whatever the truth is, I don't see how it will help me get food on the table. The tribute train is fancier than even the room in the Justice Building. We are each given our own chambers that have a bedroom, a dressing area, and a private bathroom with hot and cold running water. We don't have hot water at home unless we boil it. There are drawers filled with fine clothes, and every trinket tells me to do anything I want, wear anything I want. Everything is at my disposal. Just be ready for supper in an hour. I peel off my mother's blue dress and take a hot shower. I've never had a shower before. It's like being in a submarine, only warmer. I dressed in a dark green shirt and pants. At the last minute, I remember Marge's little gold pin. For the first time, I get a good look at it. It's as if someone fashioned a small golden braid and then attached a ring around it. The braid is connected to the ring only by its wingtips. I suddenly recognize it. A mockingjay. They're funny birds and something of a slap in the face to the capital. During the rebellion, the capital bred a series of genetically altered animals as weapons. The common term for them was mutations, or sometimes mutts for short. One was a special bird called a jabberjay that had the ability to memorize and repeat whole human conversations. They were homing birds, exclusively male, that were released into regions where the capital's enemies were known to be hiding. After the birds gathered words, they would fly back to the centers to be recorded. It took people a while to realize what was going on in the districts, how private conversations were being transmitted. Then, of course, the rebels fed the capital endless lies, and the joke was on it. So, the centers were shut down and the birds were abandoned to die off in the wild. Only, they didn't die off. Instead, the jabberjays mated with female mockingjays, creating a whole new species that could replicate both bird whistles and human melodies. They had lost the ability to enunciate words, but could still mimic a range of human vocal songs, from a child's high-pitched warble to a man's deep tones. And they could create not just a few notes, but whole songs with multiple verses, if you had the patience to sing them, and if they like your voice. My father was particularly fond of mockingjays. When we were hunting, he would whistle or sing complicated songs to them, and after a polite pause, they'll always sing back. Not everyone is treated with such respect, but whenever my father sang, all the birds in the area would fall silent and listen. His voice was that beautiful, high and clear, and so filled with life, it made you want to laugh and cry at the same time. I could never bring myself to continue the practice after he was gone. Still, there's something comforting about the little bird. It's like having a piece of my father with me, protecting me. I fastened the pin onto my shirt, and with the dark green fabric as a background, I can almost imagine the mockingjay flying through the trees. Every trinket comes to collect me for supper. I follow her through the narrow rocking corridor into a dining room with polished panel walls. There's a table where all the dishes are highly breakable. Peter Malak sits waiting for us. The chair next to him is empty. "Where's Himmage?" asks Effie Trinket brightly. "Last time I saw him, he said he was going to take a nap," says Peter. "Alright, let's take a pause here. So, one of my favorite things in this book is the humor. Suzanne Collins has a very dry, deadpan, almost dark sense of humor, and I really like it. At first, I thought that quirk was a character trait, right? Especially of Katniss, because she tends to be really matter-of-fact when she says things. But reading through this chapter, I realize now that it's less of a character trait for individual character, and I think is more of a little spice from the writer, because multiple characters do it, despite the fact that they are vastly different in personality. So, when we go back to how Katniss described Joanna Mason, and then later on, we should pay attention to how Effie kind of taunts them a little bit, because they were laughing at the fact that Himmage was always drunk, and she says something that is really deadpan humor, and I absolutely love it. Right? It is sarcasm and biting wit at its finest. And what is so interesting in this book is because it's a heavy book, right? And it covers serious themes. So the little parts where we get to slow down and be a little funny and lighten the mood, it really makes the experience so much more refreshing. And it makes it easy to come and read the book over and over because you're not feeling like if you're living through like a horrible story. You have all these different quirks and little funny juicy moments that make it exciting. So I thought that was a really cool thing to see. Tell me if you agree in the comments, and let's finish off the chapter now. Well, it's been an exhausting day, says Effie Trinket. I think she's relieved by Hamish's absence, and who can blame her? The supper comes in courses: a thick carrot soup, green salad, lamb chops and mashed potatoes, cheese and fruit, a chocolate cake. Throughout the meal, every trinket keeps reminding us to save space between because there's more to come. But I'm stuffing myself because I've never had food like this. So good and so much. And because probably the best thing I can do between now and the game is put on a few pounds. At least you two have decent manners, says Effie as we're finishing the main course. The pair last year ate everything with their hands like a couple of savages. It's completely upset my digestion. The pair last year were two kids from the seam who never, not one day of their lives, had enough to eat. And when they did have food, table manners were surely the last thing on their minds. Peter's a baker's son. My mother taught Prim and I to eat properly, so yes, I can handle a fork and knife, but I hate every trinkets coming so much, I make a point of eating the rest of my meal with my fingers. Then I wipe my hands on the tablecloth. This makes her purse her lips tightly together. Now that the meal's over, I'm fighting to keep the food down. I can see Peter's looking a little green too. Neither of our stomachs is used to such rich fare. But if I can hold down Greasy C's concoction of mice meat, pig entrails, and treebark, a winter specialty, I'm determined to hang on to this. We go to another compartment to watch the recap of the reapings across Panama, then try to stagger them throughout the day so a person could conceivably watch the whole thing live. But only people in the capital could really do that, since none of them have to attend reapings themselves. One by one, we see the other reapings, the names called, the volunteers stepping forward, or more often not. We examine the faces of the kids who will be our competition. A few stand out in my mind. A monstrous boy who lunges forward to volunteer for District 2. A fox-faced girl with sleek red hair from District 5. A boy with a crippled foot from District 10. And most hauntingly, a 12-year-old girl from District 11. She has dark brown skin and eyes, but other than that, she's very like Prim in size and demeanor. Only when she mounts the stage and they ask for volunteers, all I can hear is the wind whistling through the decrepit buildings around her. There's no one willing to take her place. Last of all, they show District 12, Prim being called, me running forward to volunteer. You can't miss the desperation in my voice as I shove Prim behind me, as if I'm afraid no one will hear and they'll take Prim away. But of course they do hear. I see Gail pulling her off me and watch myself mount the stage. The commentators are not sure what to say about the crowd's refusal to applaud. The silence salutes. One says that District 12 has always been a bit backward, but that local customs can be charming. As if on cue, Hamish falls off the stage and they groan comically. Peter's name is drawn and he quietly takes his place. We shake hands, they cut to the anthem again, and the program ends. Every trinket is disgruntled about the state of Wigwazet. Your mentor has a lot to learn about presentation, a lot about televised behavior. Peter unexpectedly laughs. He was drunk, says Peter. He's drunk every year. Every day, I add. I can't help speaking a little. Every trinket makes it sound like Hamish just has somewhat rough manners that could be corrected with a few tips from her. Yes, hisses every trinket. How odd you two find it amusing. You know, your mentor is your lifeline to the world in these games. The one who advises you, lines up your sponsors, and dictates the presentation of your gifts. Hamish will be the difference between your life and your death. Just then, Hamish staggers into the compartment. Just then, Hamish staggers into the compartment. I missed supper, he says in a slurred voice. Then he vomits all over the expensive carpet and falls in a mess. So laugh away, says Effie Trinket. She hops in her pointy shoes around the pool of vomit and flees the room. The end. Thank you for everyone who joined me for chapter 3. I had so much fun. This was a fun chapter. Drop your thoughts in the comments below because I read all of the comments. I'll leave you with this and I want to hear about it. Which of Katniss' visitors surprised you the most? Was it the baker with his unsolicited cookies? Or was it Madge with her suspicious agency about the Mockingjay pen? Tell me about it, I want to hear. Also, before we go, just a quick announcement. We have a new addition to our TBR list. And I think this one is going to surprise you, but in a good way. So, I'll hint who the author is below. And I'm not going to put the title of the book, but I'll put a link. So, give a quick guess about what you think it is and click on the link to see if you were right, but don't tell the answer to anybody in the comments because you don't want to spoil it for everybody, right? If you've read the novel before, comment yes. We'll be exploring this particular title soon through a series of shorts. So, like, subscribe so you don't miss a thing. See you guys next week. Bye.